Okay, hi everybody. We're going to do a live stream here of trying to get this logo design to work in the Glowforge user interface. So this is from a fellow Glowforge user who sent the file to me as a quick tutorial. So what the Glowforge is doing is it's reading this design and bringing in multiple layers of it basically. So we open the design up, and if I grab pieces, I can pull this apart because it's images on top of images. And I'm probably using the wrong terminology for all of this. So anyway, the very first thing that I do, because when I open this file, my working area, my board is a little bit different than what the Glowforge engrave bed is. So I grab everything, or Control All. Oops, sorry, I didn't take time to load up any of my keyboard helpers that would show you what I'm actually doing. So Control, I'm going to try to explain it. So Control All, I'm going to go ahead and cut it or copy it, and then I'm going to open a new document. So one of the things that we did for Inkscape very early on was to create a workboard area that is the size of the bed of the Glowforge. So I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here. So what I do then, anytime I have a file that comes in from somewhere else that I bought from Etsy or that I'm helping someone with, is I copy and paste the design into the workboard that I'm using that aligns with the Glowforge. So then whatever it's saved here and whatever size it is in this one, when I load it into GFUI, it keeps the measurements the same across. It has to do with ratios of stuff and all that stuff. Anyway, so we have lots of different layers here that the Glowforge is reading. So if I pull all of this apart, it's trying to, there's all of these shapes on top of shapes. So we have to go through and align it so that it's not doing that anymore. So the primary tool that we're going to be using is called the difference tool. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to duplicate this D, Control D, and pull it off to the side here. So we're going to keep an original off to the side. And then I'm going to start going through and pulling it all apart. So you have to do each one of these steps individually in Inkscape. I haven't found a way for it to do, you can't choose multiple and then have it remove. And you can't have it grouped together either. So if I had this as a group, these two pieces, they're two different objects. I can't grab this and do the difference with those two files. We have to do it all step by step. So I backed this up. We're going to take this one and the one behind it, and we're going to go up and we're going to go to path, and then we're going to do difference. And so now this, if I pull this out, no matter where I move it there in the background, you can see that that pink is there. So I've essentially taken this white shape and said cut out a hole right here where that is going to be. So that's the process that we're going to do for this whole thing. So I'm going to back us back out. Too many backups. And I'm going to start doing outside in first. So we have this white that's on top of the pink right here in the back. So I'm going to grab my white and I'm going to grab my pink. And I'm going to difference. So now here's my shape, and you can clearly see through. And then I'm going to come down here. Oh. And we're going to do that for each one of these. And if you have to do a lot of these, there's a program called AutoHotkey. That's really awesome, that my husband has been trying to teach me. This is going to be a little painful. So you can't take these two and choose this background and go path difference, because it doesn't know what you're talking about. It doesn't know which two objects you're trying to make different. And when I do this difference, you can see that it turned it into, it added these nodes tools, these nodes here. So you can see that these ones are already done. And I'm running on fumes, so. We're just gonna go run the whole thing. And if anybody else uses Inkscape and knows of an easier way to do this, and just happens to watch this, then don't forget to grab it. You can also do Control plus minus. Oops, missed one. So I was just double clicking on it, which is what makes the node tool show up. Hope everybody's having a great day. I don't know what to talk about right now. I'm just kind of plugging along here. I know it's not very entertaining. So if you have any questions, definitely feel free to put them in the comments. This is really good practice. I was given a design to work on for making wood stickers. And the client had commissioned the design from someone else, and so they had a vector file in Adobe Illustrator that they gave me, which is great until I went to actually use it on the machine, because they had made it so that it was graphically appropriate when you looked at it, so graphic design, but not appropriate for engraving. And so there was like 11 layers to it, and they had all of these random shapes going on in the background to actually bring in the different colors. It was just a great big giant mess. And so then of course the Glowforge or any other, actually I had someone else look at it that has a different software system for their laser, because they don't have a Glowforge, and the lasers can't read it because there's just so much going on in the background behind all of the colors, behind what is visually appealing. So it's great for print copy, but not so great for everything else. Okay, so now we have this one. Let's just double check. When we double click on our pink banner here, we go all the way around and all of our nodes show up because it is now all one piece. So our next step, I'm going to do our letters here. So our D and our white, these two need to have a difference done to them. So now it's all one letter. And sometimes when you're doing these, you have to make a duplicate of what you're doing. It's just more a matter of understanding what's going on. Okay, so there's our D, there's our O, B works, O works. Now we're going to take our D and our background and difference. So now there's our D. Okay, we're gonna do this one. So we don't actually have to do a difference for any of these because they're inside, they're actually in the white. The only one that we have to worry about is this one. So we just need to grab those two. Okay, I'm just gonna double check in outline mode. Not sure what's going on here. So, we could union this together and round it out, or we can just delete that piece and go in and fix our C here with our nodes. So I can just bring our nodes up just a little bit to get that rounding. And if I click between the line and I round the line itself, so one thing to look at would be if you want the shapes to actually have, looks like they're kind of bumpy. So you can go through and you can even things out a little bit if you needed to. You can just move the nodes around. You can straighten out your lines if you want, just kind of different aspects. Not quite sure what the end game is. Okay, so now let's save this. Oh, my computer might not like. So we have a question. What is difference and what does it mean do? Difference is in Inkscape, it's taking, just a minute. So my son made me this beautiful crown here out of these shapes the other day. So I'm going to take a piece of it off here. Difference is saying I've got this shape and this shape, but I want to make a hole inside this shape. So I've made this shape in my design software, and I've made this shape in my design software. If I stick them over top of each other, then these two pieces, when I load into the Glowforge user interface, it's going to read it so as I need to engrave this and I need to engrave this. Really what we want it to do is engrave this piece, but with a circle cut out of the middle. So we're taking the difference of these two pieces into account. So when you're in your software, you have this piece and this piece, you lay them over top of each other, and then you select the difference command, and it cuts out the inside. So another way to think of it would be saying cut a circle from my other design. And now I gotta put the crown back together, so the next time when he comes in and says, "Mommy, you're not wearing your crown," he can put it on my head for me. Did that help? Hopefully. There's a whole bunch of other commands too. Union is taking two pieces and sticking them together. So again, just another way to think about it, if you've got this design shape and this design shape and you want to stick them together so that they're overlapping, if I flip this around, you can see that this section right here, the Glowforge is going to engrave twice. Or when it comes to, actually when it comes to letters in fonts, when you turn it into a vector, the Glowforge reads it as an empty space. So it turns on, and then it turns off, and then it turns back on. So that's why we say you need to weld your letters, and in your design when you have cursive font, because it's going to stop engraving in that other spot right there. So in the software, you need to union these two pieces together. So it basically takes this shape and welds it together and treats it as one. So it takes the outline of this one and the outline of this one and merges it together and connects the line up here, connects the line down here, and removes the lines in the middle. So let's double check and make sure that what we have, where we're at, is what we need it to be. And I called it this one. Oh, and I have the two pieces. I made the duplicate in there too. While that's loading, it shouldn't take very long. One thing to take into account here, because I copied and pasted it into my software, is our total size now. So our total size of this is 3.26 inches by 3.229 inches. And I don't know what the intended size in the original was supposed to be. Yeah, I carried through, so that's good. So back to this. Okay, so we loaded in. I just happened to have some proof grade material in, which I don't commonly use, and so it's automatically said this is what we're going to do with all of these different pieces. So this is our original one that it was trying to read, and if you look closely, it had all of these different layers to it. I'm trying to hover over it so I can show you, but I can't. So if you look really closely, you can see, I'm going to point at my screen, the B in the middle, there's the layer on top of the layer on top of the layer on top of the layer. So there was 4 different layers going on, and so Glowforge is trying to figure out what to do with that, and it's going to try to engrave in all of those different areas. Whereas now on this other design, oh, see, we missed. So this S still needs fixed to do a cutout, basically, a difference between this larger shape and the S for what we actually want it to be. But otherwise, it's good to go for the way that we actually want it. And so then the Glowforge is saying, okay, all of these areas that are solid, we're going to engrave it, and this has a red cut line going around the outside, and I'm going to cut it. So that's kind of a wrap. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Thanks for hanging out, and talk to y'all later. I gotta figure out how to turn it off again. End stream.